Let's be honest, hiring someone new is one of the biggest decisions a manager makes. But the main tool we all rely on, the interview, it often feels like a total game of chance. Well, today, we're going to change those odds. This is all about how to transform your hiring process from a gamble into a science, so you can find that perfect fit every time.
And that quote really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? I mean, you're trying to predict someone's entire future performance based on a conversation that might only last an hour. And when the stakes are that high, just guessing, yeah, that's not going to cut it.
And this isn't just some abstract idea, right? Picture a chemical plant. A single bad hire, someone who got through because of a flawed interview, isn't just a small dip in productivity. It's a massive safety risk. The fallout from that one decision can be incredibly serious.
Now, most of us go into interviews with the best intentions. We really do want to find the best person for the job. So where does it all go sideways? Well, a lot of the time, the biggest obstacle is us. It's just our own human nature.
And here's a really interesting way to think about it. You've got a standardized test, which is designed to be objective, and then you have the interview, which is a deeply social, human thing. And that's exactly what makes it so vulnerable to all our hidden biases and those split-second judgments that can totally throw everything off course.
Okay, so how does this actually play out in real life? First off, it happens fast. Research shows a ton of interviewers make a snap judgment in the first 5 minutes. Then they spend the rest of the interview just looking for evidence to confirm what they already decided. On top of that, our brains are literally wired to give more weight to negative info than positive. And of course, something as simple as the interviewer's mood that day can color the entire conversation. All right, so we've laid out all the problems. It can definitely feel like the whole system is kind of rigged against making a good, objective choice. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be that way. We can totally re-engineer this process to be way more reliable. The big question is, how? And this slide really lays out the solution perfectly. We need to move away from that classic, free-for-all, so tell me about yourself kind of interview, the one you see on the left that's just so subjective and inconsistent. Instead, we need to embrace the structured interview over on the right, which is designed from the ground up to be objective, consistent, and fair to everybody. All right, so let's get practical. It's time to open up the toolkit. Because a structured approach isn't just one single thing, it's actually a whole set of tools you can use. And knowing which tool to pull out for the right job, that's the real key to making a fantastic hire.
First up, we have a big one, the behavioral interview, or BDI. The whole idea behind it is super simple, but really powerful. The best way to predict how someone will perform in the future is to look at how they performed in the past. This technique is all about digging into real, concrete examples of what a candidate has actually done.
Okay, next in our toolkit is the situational interview. Now this one kind of flips the script. We're shifting our focus from the past to the future. It's less about what someone has done and more about what they would do. You basically throw a hypothetical work problem at them and see how they think on their feet. And check out this table. It breaks down the difference so clearly. Just look at the question types, right? The behavioral interview asks, "Tell me about a time." That's all about digging into their actual real-world experience. But the situational interview asks, "What would you do if?" That's all about gauging their judgment and problem-solving skills. They measure different things, but both are absolutely crucial. Now, besides those two heavy hitters, there are a few other formats you can add to your kit. You've got the panel interview, for example, where you bring in a few interviewers at once to help cancel out any one person's bias. And then there's the non-directive interview. It's more of a free-flowing chat, which you don't see as often, but it might be useful for certain creative roles. But the key takeaway here? The structured interview is the foundation that makes all of these other formats work so much better. But honestly, the real pro tip? You don't have to pick just one. The absolute best approach is usually a mix, a hybrid. Just imagine running a panel interview where you start with some of those behavioral questions to see what they've done, and then you pivot to a few situational ones to test their judgment. That's how you get a really complete picture of a candidate.
Okay, so we've seen the pitfalls, we've got our toolkit ready, so now let's bring it all together. After all this, what are we actually trying to achieve? What's the ultimate goal here?
You know, the end goal here is pretty simple, but it is so important. We want a hiring process that is fair for everyone, consistent every single time, and of course, effective. It's about moving away from subjective gut feelings and building a system that actually works, a system that gives every candidate a fair shot and gets better results for the whole organization. So, I want to leave you with one final question to think about. Just take a second and think about your own interview process, the one you use right now. Now that we've walked through all these common pitfalls,
What's your single biggest weak spot? Because pinpointing that weakness, that's the first most crucial step to building a much better hiring playbook.